Okay, so we're talking about conversions here. So once you get those inquiries, how do you convert more of them? Because once again, if we just imagine if you could just increase your conversion rate by 50%, it's not that hard, right? Compared to, say, spending like 7 times the money on ads, for example, right? So how do you increase your conversion rate by 50% or more? You could hire a better salesperson. You could get some training in sales, right? And instantly you could like increase your conversions by 50%, right? That's not that hard, right? So, but let me give you some other ideas here, okay? So let's get into it. Okay, sales, which is one of them. And we talk about payment plans as well, okay? So because sales is definitely, get some sales training. I'm not that great at sales, to be honest. I'm good at marketing, but when it comes to sales, I have all this internal resistance. I have all this BS in my brain playing out on, getting rejected and all that kind of stuff, which I'm totally aware of that I need to personally work on. So I think it's a very psychological thing with sales as well. And then if like people don't have money, you feel bad about selling to them and all that stuff, right? So I've got too much junk in my head that I need to clear up personally. Okay. Second thing, we'll talk about payment plans. And third thing, we'll talk about guarantees. Okay. So those of you who have been here for a while, you know the power of guarantees, but we'll go into each one of these a little bit deeper today, right? Okay, better sales training, that's important. And I think one of the key things, I was just talking to my friend the other day, right, about when I was in property development back in Australia years ago, one of the key things I did which was a milestone achievement, was that I managed to raise about $5 million from investors to invest in our projects, right? So that's 5 million Australian dollars. So that's about 15 million ringgit. So that's quite a substantial sum of money, right? By any accounts, right? So I think the key elements there was that, first of all, I believed in what we were doing. Okay, I believe in our product, in our developments. Okay, so I think that's one of the key lessons. I'm not a sales guru by any means. I'm just sharing my story. One of the key elements is that you really truly believe in your product. Like they often say, the first person you need to sell to is yourself, right? So if you're not convinced of your own product or your own service, then you can't sell it to anyone else. People can smell it, right? If you're not confident with your product or service. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, why I believe I was so successful in raising the money was that, I actually painted a picture of what was possible, right? So I said, okay, if you invest in this project, well, projected returns are this much, right? And we have all the sales data to back it, and we have all the, all the information, all the research to back up what we're saying. So I think that's really important that, you obviously have your data and research to back up what you're saying as well, but also paint that future picture of what it's like after they have purchased your product or acquired your service, okay? So I think that's the second important element. So yeah, I think, that's, I think it matters less like, oh, you have to say this, you got to follow a certain formula. Personally, I think, if you truly believe in your product, you truly believe it's going to benefit them, and you have that, in a sense, that desperation, because, for us, it was like, if I don't raise the money, our projects are not going to get off the ground and we'll be in trouble. That kind of scenario. I think that's also important to have those goals in mind as well. Right. So those are the three things that I can share to you from my, limited sales experience, that I hope will benefit you. Okay, so let's move on. And the other thing is, often we think of sales as a once-off event. Okay, we don't have any follow-up system. Like, okay, people come to the webinar, and then if they buy or don't buy, and if they don't buy, we don't follow up with them, or we have a sales meeting, and then after that, we might drop an email just to follow up, and that's it, right? But sometimes, people are just not ready at that point in time, or they're just gathering information. So constantly having that follow-up system is important, whether it's like, they say you need like 10 points of contact or 14 points of contact before you make a sale or whatever it is. So, plan out those 14 points of contact, right? Deliberately. I know it sounds like a lot of work, and it can be a lot of work, but think about it, right? If you can increase your sales through that just by 30%, 40%, which I think it's going to be more than that if you have a good follow-up system, right? You will convert much more of your sales, okay? So have to think about what you can do there. So that's where you can also combine marketing with it as well. For instance, often after a sales meeting, one of the things you can do is send them a package with information, with testimonials kind of thing, even a physical one, right? Because email nowadays, everybody's going to email, but what if you're a little bit different? So we were talking about having that follow-up system. So have that deliberate follow-up system to keep following up on prospects that don't buy initially, okay? As they always say, the money is in the follow-up, all right? Okay, so as I said, I'm not a sales expert, so I'm not gonna go too much into that. But the second thing to consider to increase your sales conversions right now is to create payment plans, okay? For example, if you're selling something, right? Why not have a $1 trial offer? Okay. So if it's really hard for people to buy your $500 product or $1,000 product up front, let them try it out. Like a good example is like some of the pet shops, right? Where you kind of like, hey, take home the dog for the weekend, right? And if you don't want the dog, bring it back on Monday. Guess what? 90% of them get attached to the dog and they buy the dog, right? And that's how it works. So yeah, that's make it like a very low risk way to get people to go in, all right, to make that decision. Offer 3 pays, 6 pays, right? Often, I guess, because I work a lot in the information space with a lot of coaches, and I know that when they have multiple pay options, especially in the space where I'm in, they actually increase the number of conversions. Because people are saying, well, I can't afford like $1,000 up front, but hey, if I'm only paying $350 a month, I'm thinking, well, maybe by the second month, I would have made back my money from this program that I can also pay my third month, right? So it's kind of like giving them that option of multiple pays is really going to help, right? And some of you are saying, oh, well, what if the guy runs away or, whatever? I mean, that's a distinct possibility. They could run away. Obviously, you need some kind of contractual arrangement. And even like PayPal, right? They have a thing where you can automatically debit their credit card every month, right? So there's ways to go around it. I won't get into technical details of that. So 3 pays, 6 pays, and so on. All right. So, okay, let me move on. Okay, so the other one is pay on results, right? So this is especially valuable if you're say a consultant or something, right? So many of my clients, for example, they pay me on results, right? So obviously I don't take on everyone because then, I'll be wasting a lot of time working with people that can't get results. So I only work with people who have proven results and, we do their marketing and, we take a percentage of everything that comes through. So for me, that has made my sell much, much more easier, right? There's no pressure saying that, okay, every month you have to pay me, say, $5,000, whether I perform or not. And people are thinking, okay, let me compare this guy with this other guy, blah, blah, blah. But when I come and say, okay, well, you just pay me on results, you're spending enough ad spend, and I know that I will roughly make X amount of money if I perform well. So I'm happy to take them on. And for them, it's a low risk way to engage my services as well. Okay. So, I think, for you guys, especially if you got a unique product as well, or I think it's more like, consultants, coaches kind of thing. If you can get paid on results, you will see that you can convert a whole lot more clients than you normally would. So any service-based business, I think that works as well. All right. So, okay, let me know if you got any ideas that you can actually implement in your business right now from these 2 slides. Just type in the chat, please. All right, no ideas yet. That's all right. Okay. Okay, so we do have 1 or 2 ideas coming through, or questions actually. How do you find clients who pay on results? It's just a matter of pitching them the right way, right? So instead of me going up to them and say, okay, look, I'm going to charge you $4,000 a month or whatever it is, I will say, okay, look, say for example, if I know that they're spending already an ad spend, like say $20,000 a month, right? So, and they regularly make sales of like 60,000 a month, for example, right? So I can figure out, well, if I get like 10% of that, that's $6,000, right? Every month. So I will go up to them and say, okay, look, sure. Let's work out a deal and let's go, I'll just get a payment from you every time you make a sale, right? Okay, so yeah, I hope that explains the pay on results thing for you. Okay, so obviously I don't take on anyone that on pay on results. If they're paying like spending $1,000 a month on ads, I'm not going to take them on, right? Minimum requirement would be they're spending 20,000 USD on ads every month or something like that before before I take them on. And say, for example, if they're not spending 20,000 a month, they're spending only 5,000, then I'll say, well, I'll have to charge you a retainer on top of that, right? So I'll take 10% plus a retainer of say $2,000-3,000. Okay. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the third one is risk-free guarantees. So we're talking about conversions now, right? Getting more conversions. So one of the key things is risk-free guarantees. So the simplest one is the 30-day or satisfaction guarantee. Everybody knows that, right? Now, the second one is a results guarantee. So I'm working with one of my mentors now to possibly devise a program, right? So this mentor of mine is based in Canada. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a program where it's like 100,000 USD, right? But people don't pay me that $100,000 until I make them $1 million. Okay, so that's the results guarantee, right? So if they make sales of $1 million through their virtual events, through their webinars, then they pay me $100,000. So obviously that becomes kind of like a no-brainer, right? If I'm giving out 100,000 and I'm getting $1 million in return, that becomes a no-brainer kind of offer, right? So that helps to increase conversions. Now, with that $100,000, obviously, it's not, paid all at one go at the end. So I will collect some money upfront, maybe $10,000, $20,000 upfront, right? Because first of all, you want to weed out people that are just completely just wasting your time, and they don't have a real desire to actually do it, right? And then as each milestone is hit, then they pay me more money each time, okay? So that's how a results guarantee can work. But for you guys, it can be a completely different thing depending on what you sell, right? So have a think, what kind of results can you guarantee? And the best thing about having a results guarantee is that you can also impact the fourth element, which we'll talk about. Because when you guarantee results, people are willing to pay more, okay? So say you were interviewing 2 people, right, that were doing, say, for example, SEO, all right? One says, okay, I will help do my best to get you on the first page of Google. The other one says, I guarantee you will get on the first page of Google or you don't pay me, right? First one charges $2,000. Second one charges $10,000, but has the guarantee, right? Which one do you go with, right? If you are like, say money was an objection, you would go with the $10,000 one because they provide a guarantee. And you don't pay them until they get results, right? Which totally makes sense, okay? So that's the power of having a results guarantee, is that you can also increase your price as well. Now, the last type of guarantee that I will share is a reverse guarantee, okay? Now, this is a big ballsy guarantee, okay? Which I first saw with Frank Kern, which is the famous internet marketer. So in this guarantee, basically what you're doing is saying that, hey, I'm gonna guarantee you results, or I will pay you money out of my pocket, right? So in the context that Frank Kern used it was that, okay, you come for my 1 hour consultation. If you don't get at least enough ideas to make like $5,000, I will personally fork out $500 from my pocket and give it to you, right? So that's a big ballsy guarantee, right? So, I think this actually helped him to get a lot of people on the phone call that otherwise wouldn't have gotten the call, right? So I think, this is like, when you're doing a consultation call or something, you can use some of this, but also think about how you can use these ideas in your current existing business. Like, okay, you try this product, if it's not better than your existing one, I will take back the product and I will give you $200 or whatever it is, okay? That is a ballsy reverse guarantee, all right? So who's kind of freaked out by this guarantees? Type it in the chat box. If you're kind of like going, oh, I can't do that in my business, just type in the chat box. Let us know. Okay, who's a bit freaked out? Just type in the chat box with these guarantees. Or can you guys come up with a guarantee for your business? Just type in the chat box. Guys, I need some more interaction, please. Okay, do you have a guarantee? Let me just have a quick look. What's your litmus test validation? What is a few? Yeah, so Iqbal, I can't answer for you, but for me, it's the pay per result thing. It would be based on amount of ad spend and based on the past results. So if it's a brand new startup client, I wouldn't take them on a percentage basis, right? So I would need to look at the previous results and basically decide based on that. Okay. So if they don't qualify, then I will have to charge them something. Okay. So guys, once again, the 30-day money back guarantee is a little bit standard nowadays, right? Especially with the internet. So one of the key things to maybe differentiate yourselves is to offer 45-day guarantee or 60-day guarantee, or if you know that your product really, really works, offer them a 12-month guarantee, right? See, the thing that with guarantees is that, you know, you will increase your conversion rate, right? Ultimately, that is the key thing. And if it scares you, that means it's good. Why? Because if it scares you, your competitors are not going to do it. But if you're doing like a guarantee that you're like going, oh, I'm really comfortable with this guarantee, then everybody else will do it and you'll be copied really, really fast, right? So that's one of the key things about guarantees. So Iqbal, yeah, the cost of ads is still paid by the customer, but if you're really ballsy, obviously you take up the ad cost as well, and you take a larger percentage of the profits, right? So but in some cases, what we'll do is like, me and the customer will kind of go in and say, all right, you come off the ad costs, and after deducting ad costs, we split the profits. Okay, so that's one way to do it as well. All right. But once again, it depends from industry to industry. Because in my industry, we can see the results straight away. Where some other industries, it might take a longer time to see the results, right? Because it might have a 6-month sales cycle or something. So then that could be a problem. So yeah. Then you need super tracking software like Hyros or something like that to be able to track it properly, which we do for some of our clients actually. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so this was a really good guarantee that I saw. This Casper, like this is a mattress, right? So imagine you letting your customer sleep on the mattress for 100 days. To try it out for free. Now, imagine someone slept on it 100 days, you take it back, was it worth, right? No one else is gonna buy it unless it's like half price or something, right? So this is a really ballsy guarantee because it's like, okay, we'll give you 100 nights to try it out for free. If you're not in love, we'll pick it up, do unpacking, give you a free refund. And they will actually, see, they donate the return mattress. So it's like a huge cost for them. Okay, so want to know how much this company is worth? Who's ready? Okay, so Casper Marketing, how a mattress company went from 0 to 750 million in 4 years, right? So that's the power of a guarantee, guys. So, you know, the power of guarantee and the power of a guarantee to actually increase your conversion rate, okay? So that's, yeah, I don't think I need to say more about guarantees, okay?